Hey everybody, it is December 28th, 2021, and it's very early in the morning. I'm just going to take a few minutes to kind of describe what I'm going through with my situation with my wheelchair and some past information to kind of emphasize the struggle. I've used a wheelchair on and off throughout my life. I have a rare condition called Morchio, and it causes dwarfism. It affects all bone and tissue. I've had a lot of broken bones and some surgeries when I was a kid, and broke my back in the 90s. I fractured 5 vertebrae and have always had aches and pains. Slowly over time, I've graduated from walking to walking with a cane, to 2 canes, to crutches, to a walker, to a manual wheelchair, and then to a power wheelchair in about 2005. And I'm thankful that I live in Canada, and for the most part, I don't have too many complaints. There are a lot of great things about Canada, and I'm grateful for all of that. And there's the thing that we have in Canada, healthcare. We have a system, and when it works, it's great. When it doesn't work, or it takes time with red tape or things, it's very frustrating. Now, since 2005, I've used a power wheelchair, an electric wheelchair. So in that time, I have gone through, I'm on my 3rd wheelchair. So every 5 years, approximately 5-6 years, I've needed a new chair, because I am what some people might call a heavy user. Meaning that I get out and live life. I don't abuse the chair, but it certainly gets a workout. I use it daily. It's something I need to help me function. The primary thing for an electric wheelchair or scooter, an assistive device, is deemed by, you need to go from your bed to the bathroom for, your daily functions, showering, bathing, and all that, and, to be able to get to the kitchen and eat. And not too much is really said about outside of, your outside world, outside of your shelter, which is kind of just, a given that some people don't, live outside. So anyway, despite that, we have a system where people that are financially challenged can apply to have a wheelchair, and it's covered by something called the Assistive Devices program. So you apply to that, and you're allowed, the minimum time to get a wheelchair is 5 years. So you have to have that wheelchair 5 years. And they do other things too, but this video and my story is about the chair. So I had a new chair in about 2005, and then 2010, and then 2015. It's now going to be, in another few days, it's going to be 2022. So this chair is gone. It's fair distance. Now, with that being said, there's a lot of different electric chairs on the market. My chair is what they call a center wheel drive. There's 2 large wheels, and then 4 little wheels, casters, on the outer perimeter. And the center wheels are the drive, where the motors are. And it's a pretty good system where you're sitting right above those wheels and you can turn right on the spot. Unfortunately, with my stature, my shortness, the seat depth where I sit, I'm sitting a little forward. So where the weight of my body pushes down on the chair, it seems to make the chair lean forward, and all the pressure and extra weight goes on the two little casters in the front. And this takes a very good beating, shall we say, when I'm going over little bumps and just daily wear and tear. So now the seat depth from the back of your knee to the back of the chair is also critical. So being an average sized person, you can sit on a chair anywhere you go and you find what's comfortable for you. Myself, if I sit on a regular chair, I don't sit all the way back because my knees, my feet would be, instead of bent, they'd be sitting up in the chair. So I need a much shorter seat depth so that my feet hang down. So then I'm pushed forward with the seat on top of those wheels. And now, with all this being said, this chair I have, I was never really comfortable in it. And one of the things that had changed with this chair from the other chairs I've had and all the other things is that I required a tilting mechanism that tilts back. The whole seat tilts. It doesn't recline. So like if you were sitting, if this was a seat, it doesn't recline like a lazy boy. The whole seat tilts back. So your feet go up and all that stuff. But the idea being that when you tilt back, the pressure is taken off your spine. So, and then in about 2017, I discovered I had a growth or a tumor of some kind in my L2 of my lower spine. And it looks like it's been there a long time. I had an MRI done because I was in constant pain with it and causing numbness in my right leg. So after about a year of waiting to get a surgeon, I went and had another MRI done, and it had hardly grown. So I stopped worrying about it, and it was still growing, and I knew I'd have to deal with it at some point. But over the course of COVID, it has become much worse. So I'm waiting to get another MRI, and I'll have to deal with that at some point because my right leg is losing strength and numbness, and it's getting harder to do stuff that I could do just a few years ago. So now about the chair. So in about 2017, I started experiencing a lot of mechanical breakdowns, and usually you just call the vendor and it gets fixed. Unfortunately, the vendor, for whatever reason, human error, nobody's perfect, but I started going through repeat things over the years. I'd noticed certain things. I was going to say that I was really happy with the vendor I had for the last, 20 years in Oakville. And then when I needed the tilt, I had to switch vendors because the tilt is deemed as a special piece of equipment, and it belongs in the central equipment pool, so that, it's a different department. It's still funded and everything, but only one vendor or store or business in Ontario has the contract from the government to sell that equipment and work on that equipment. Monopoly wouldn't be the right word, but that might be the word we use here. So now I was having a lot of problem getting repairs done to the chair because the front wheels were wearing out. I asked for new ones. It took a long time to get a response from the company. They kept sending people out, but they hadn't ordered the wheels, or they ordered the wrong wheels, and I eventually ended up calling the manufacturer, and they sent someone down from Barrie the same day to work on my chair in the summertime out in front of my building, because I was laying in bed. I couldn't do anything. My chair was broke down. So I couldn't go from one room to the other. I was very frustrated. And eventually, some things got fixed by another vendor because they had to be fixed. And then I was told that I could get a new chair, but then the government decided to fix the old chair. And just because those little wheels broke, a whole bunch of other mechanical failures happened because of that. So anyway, the chair got worked on. It took about between 4 and 6 months for that to happen. And it was, an on and off again, breakdown, repair, not fixed, breakdown, repeat breakdown, and a lot of taxpayer money. So, and frustration. And luckily, the chair got fixed, and I had a lot of wonderful people in my life that helped me when times are bad, and I'm losing faith in humanity. So this recent chair breakdown starts in January of 2020, just before the pandemic. I knew from my past experience, applying for a new chair takes time. So I decided I would ask the people to come out and assess me and start the paperwork on applying for funding to get a new wheelchair. Now, with that being said, they said, okay, well, there's this pandemic thing, we might have to wait. So it took till June or July till they could come and see me. And they measured me up, they brought a demo chair, and it was agreed upon that with my right leg being number and weaker and not being able to step up into the chair, that I would need something to help me transfer more easily in the chair. And I would still have tilt, and that would be covered, and the chair is covered, but the footrest, the occupational therapist said wasn't covered for whatever reason. And I thought it was strange, but I thought, well, I'll have to raise the money. And then I like my seat in my wheelchair to go up, to elevate, so that I can reach things in the cupboard and in the freezer, and I'm more independent. And also, it's a social peer thing. I like looking people in the eye, and it helps in my social world when I go out to a bar, to sit at a bar and talk to people, to be comfortable, to dance on the dance floor. And if I go and play music, to go up to a microphone and raise my chair up to the microphone. And it's good for my soul and my ego and all that stuff. That's not covered, just the chair and the tilt. So I knew I'd have to raise the money. So I said, well, okay, I can do that. I just need to know how much to do, right? So we left things like that in July of 2020. I was approved for the Assistive Devices program in the fall of 2020, November. And I said, great, hopefully I can get the new chair by the new year. Can we pick out a color? Can we do this? So time elapsed, and I didn't hear anything. So I made some calls, and the vendor told me that they were going back and forth with the manufacturer, and it seemed that the foot device that was going to be able to help me get in the chair wasn't going to work. So they had to find some other solution. And I said, okay, keep me posted. Do we have to start again? Do we need a different chair? And I'd like to talk to the occupational therapist and ask if I can appeal the decision to cover the footrest elevation that would help me transfer, because it was going to come out of my pocket. And it's her decision as the therapist. And at first she said no, it wasn't covered. And when I asked for the appeal, she said, yeah, sure, no problem. So with that being said, I was still having mechanical breakdowns and waiting. So right now I'm going to, I've been on talking for 15 minutes, so 16 minutes. I'm just going to do a quick thing here and show you some of my wheelchair as it is today. And I wonder if I can turn this around. No, I'll have to do another video of that. So from November 2020 till now, I've been waiting, which now it is almost 2022, a full year. The funding has lapsed from the government. The vendor, I asked, can you do the letter of appeal for that one part? And he said, well, I didn't send it in. So he never bothered sending in the letter of appeal based on his decision and the manufacturer saying that part wasn't going to work. And it waited till August of this year when I had to make more phone calls, because I was still having trouble with this chair, breakdowns and different things. And I'll walk through that in another video. So now there's a thing where the vendor says to me, I'm sorry I didn't contact you. I've been trying to solve things and stuff. I said, well, you're not communicating with me. And they admitted they were wrong. And I said, well, can I use it this way? Can I use it that way? Let's just order it. Let's get it done. And he said, okay. And I said, how much do I need to raise? And he said, well, that quote is still the same. It's like $12,000 for your part. So the chair is like $27,000. And the government was going to cover $16,000. And so my difference would be $11,000 thereabouts. So in about a month's time, I put up a GoFundMe page and I raised the money. I had an angel come along and almost put up half the money, and others, people, friends, family, fans, people in my circle came forward and put the money up to help me. Then there's an organization in Western Canada called the NPS Society that helps people like me with this rare condition, and they put some money towards the chair and paid the vendor directly. So at the end of September, I phoned the vendor and said, hey, I've got the money, let's order the chair and let me pick a color. So he said, okay, I'll try and get there as soon as possible. The first week of November is the soonest I can be there. Okay. The week before, the occupational therapist calls, well, I have to be there, and I have to get paid from your social workers. So can you put a call in and tell them that I have to be there? So calls were made, and more squeaks and noises. The arm fell off the wheelchair a few weeks ago. And when's the soonest you can be there? The week before Christmas. Okay, great. 2 weeks before Christmas, December 15th or something. My dad came down with COVID, and I had to cancel the meeting. So now it's into January of 2020, January 6th, I have a meeting so that they can remeasure me and reapply to the Assistive Devices program, because the Assistive Devices, I was approved from 2020 for that year, and then it lapsed. They asked for an extension, but now it all has to be done again. So there's a whole time window. I don't know when I'm going to get this chair. I will get the chair. The question is not money. It's the process. There has to be a better way. It's not a COVID problem. It's not a money problem in some regard. I raised some money. I did this. It's taken over 2 years now by the time I get this wheelchair. And in the next video, I'm going to show you a picture of my chair today and show you some of the repairs and things just the way it is. So I'm going to leave this off here, and this is a new thing I'm doing. I'm going to post this on a few different platforms, and if you like what you see or you want to know more, subscribe, hit the bell, all that kind of stuff, and you'll get to know me better and all the different things in my life. This video is specifically about disabilities and what people are going through. I'm not the only one. I know there's other problems out there. I've talked to people, and the vendors know there's problems, and the government knows there's problems, but nothing is changing. Nothing changes unless something changes.